Good morning, friends. For weeks now, the world has been watching something remarkable unfold. Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has just completed one of the most ambitious diplomatic tours in recent years. Traveling across India, Australia, and Japan, he met with world leaders, signed major agreements, and pushed forward a strategy designed to expand Canada's global partnerships. Analysts and diplomats around the world are paying close attention, and many are calling this tour a powerful example of how a country can navigate one of the most uncertain global environments in decades. What makes this moment even more interesting is the timing. While former US President Donald Trump has often shaken the global system with tariffs, threats, and unpredictable policies, Mark Carney has taken a very different approach. Instead of confrontation, he is focusing on cooperation. Instead of pressure, he is building alliances. Across the Indo-Pacific region, Carney is strengthening relationships that could give Canada more economic options and greater influence on the global stage. And that is exactly why this tour matters so much. For decades, Canada's economy has been deeply tied to the United States. But as Carney signs new partnerships in some of the world's fastest-growing economies, that balance could begin to shift. A Canada with stronger trade relationships across Asia means more independence, more negotiating power, and fewer economic vulnerabilities tied to any single country. The final stop of this whirlwind tour brought Carney to Tokyo, where he met with Japan's leadership to cap off the mission with a series of new agreements aimed at expanding cooperation between the two countries. Standing beside his Japanese counterpart, Carney emphasized the deeper connection between the two nations, highlighting shared values, strong institutions, and a long history of collaboration. He explained that both countries share much in common, from democratic traditions to cultural exchange, and that these similarities create a powerful foundation for future growth. According to Carney, this partnership is not just about trade today, it is about building something more ambitious for the future: stronger economic ties, deeper cooperation, and greater prosperity for both nations. But this trip was never meant to be just another diplomatic visit. It was a carefully planned trade mission spanning three of the most important economies in the Indo-Pacific: India, Australia, and Japan. In each country, discussions focused on expanding trade, securing critical minerals, strengthening energy cooperation, and building long-term investment partnerships that could reshape supply chains for years to come. Yet the most powerful message of the tour may not have been economic at all. It was political. The message was simple but significant. In a rapidly changing world, countries are looking for reliable partners, stable alliances, and long-term cooperation. And through this tour, Canada signaled that it intends to play a much bigger role in shaping that future. Canada was sending a clear message to the world. It has options. For decades, the United States has been Canada's largest and most dominant trading partner. But in a time when Washington's policies are becoming increasingly unpredictable, Canada is now actively expanding its global partnerships. This tour showed that Canada is serious about diversifying its trade and reducing its dependence on any single market. For Donald Trump, this kind of diplomacy creates a real challenge. His economic strategy toward allies has often relied on leverage, using tariffs, trade pressure, and negotiations from a position of strength. But that strategy only works when countries have very few alternatives. When a nation depends heavily on the US market, Washington holds enormous influence over its economy. But that dynamic begins to change when new partnerships emerge. If Canada strengthens trade relationships with major economies like India, Australia, and Japan, the balance of power shifts. Markets become more diverse, supply chains expand across multiple regions, and economic pressure from any one country becomes far less effective. In simple terms, the more options Canada builds, the less leverage the United States holds. And that is exactly why Mark Carney's tour is being watched so closely in Washington. Every agreement signed overseas represents another step toward a more diversified Canadian economy. Each new partnership makes it harder for any single country to dictate the terms of trade. The big question now is whether this mission will truly deliver long-term results. From the outside, it appears that the Prime Minister is doing exactly what he promised, turning speeches and announcements into real diplomatic action. But the real test will come later. Success will not be measured only by agreements signed during the trip, but by what happens next. If new products begin flowing into these markets and Canada genuinely expands its trade beyond the United States, then this tour will be remembered as a major success.
For now, the deals and announcements are only the first step. The real impact will depend on how quickly these partnerships are implemented and how soon Canadians begin to see the economic benefits. Still, early signs suggest that Carney is moving forward with the strategy he was elected to deliver.
Greg, what do you make of it? Well, from his perspective, the trip is both interesting and strategically important. When you look at India, there are already significant investments flowing between the two countries, making that partnership one of the most concrete outcomes of the tour. Australia, on the other hand, stands out because of its focus on critical minerals, resources that are becoming increasingly important for global technology and energy industries. Meanwhile, in Japan, the discussions centered on major sectors like automotive manufacturing and agriculture. Taken together, these conversations show real progress and highlight how Canada is expanding cooperation across several key industries. At the same time, another narrative has started to emerge from this diplomatic tour. Many analysts now see Mark Carney as a leader capable of standing up to Donald Trump on the global stage. During the election campaign, Carney argued that his international experience and strong relationships with global leaders would help Canada regain influence and navigate the uncertainty created by Trump's policies. Now, observers say this tour may be proving exactly what he promised. In fact, many Canadians supported Carney because they believed he was the leader best prepared to deal with the instability surrounding Trump's presidency. And the warm reception he received in India, Australia, and Japan suggests that international partners may see him in the same light. In a world where global politics often feels unpredictable, countries are increasingly looking for stable and reliable partners they can trust. Throughout the election, voters repeatedly heard that Mark Carney would be the leader capable of standing firm against pressure from Washington. He presented himself as someone with the global credibility and relationships needed to elevate Canada's role on the world stage. And if you look at the places he chose to visit and the types of agreements emerging from those meetings, it does appear that he is delivering on that promise. What makes this trip truly significant is that it is not just about signing individual deals. It reflects a much broader strategy connecting three major Indo-Pacific partners: India, Australia, and Japan. Carney focused on industries where Canada holds enormous potential and influence, including energy, critical minerals, advanced technology, agriculture, and automotive manufacturing. These sectors are expected to shape the global economy for decades to come. By strengthening partnerships in these areas, Canada is positioning itself at the center of new supply chains and rapidly growing markets. And in international politics, that creates something extremely valuable: leverage. The more partnerships Canada builds around the world, the less dependent it becomes on any single country, and the more freedom it gains to shape its own economic future.
When a country depends too heavily on a single partner, it becomes vulnerable to pressure. And avoiding that kind of vulnerability is exactly how nations maintain independence in a highly competitive global economy. By building multiple partnerships and expanding trade options, countries create balance, flexibility, and the freedom. Has just completed a diplomatic mission that could reshape Canada's position in the global economy. During this trip, he strengthened ties with India, deepened cooperation with Australia, and secured important agreements with Japan, three of the most influential economies in the Indo-Pacific region. At a time when global politics is becoming increasingly unstable and unpredictable, Canada is choosing to expand its alliances and strengthen its economic options. And for Donald Trump, that presents a real challenge. The more partnerships Canada builds around the world, the less effective economic pressure from Washington becomes. Instead of relying on a single market, Canada gains something every country seeks in international politics: the freedom to choose its own path. This tour could eventually be remembered as a defining moment in Canada's global strategy. In just a few days, Mark Carney strengthened relationships with three major Indo-Pacific powers, opened new doors for Canadian trade, and signaled that Canada is ready to operate with greater independence in an unpredictable global environment. If you want clear and simple analysis of these major geopolitical developments and how they could shape Canada's future, make sure you subscribe to Skyjet Wings and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next report. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Mark Carney's global tour has truly strengthened Canada's position in the face of pressure from Donald Trump? Or do you believe the real test is still ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments below.